All right, this might seem weird. I want you to take a moment to notice that you're breathing. We do this all day, every day. We do it while we sleep, and we never really notice. But I want you just to take a moment and see if you can follow a single breath from the moment it hits your nose until the moment it leaves. See if that breath can become your entire world, if you're able to just focus on it. And if you're anything like me and every other human, I bet you've already gotten distracted 1,000 times by the mind telling you about breathing, questioning why we're doing this, wondering what the purpose is, and all the other things the mind does. This is the human condition. This is the root of so much of our suffering. And so today we're going to talk about one of the best ways to deal with that, and that is learning to meditate. So when I'm dying one day, and I'm on my deathbed, and I look back over my life, one of the things that I believe I'm going to look to and I'm going to remember as just super pivotal, as something that changed my life, and maybe the thing that changed my life more than any others, was learning to meditate. In the last episode, we talked about knowing your mind and just being able to recognize it. I would have never been able to do that had it not been for meditation. If I had not learned how to stop and teach my mind to focus and to observe what's going on around me instead of always being so caught up in it, I think I'd still be a mess. And when I say I was a mess, I want to be clear. I hear people talk about like, oh, I was wild when I was young, or oh, I was a real pain in the ass. Like, I was a special kind of problem when I was young. It's been, I'm 47 now, so it's been 27, 28 years ago, maybe 26. I'm not good at math. All the meditation has not made me good at math. But I rolled into West Texas 20 some odd years ago, fresh out of jail. I just rolled a car with no seatbelt. I had a drug problem. I had an alcohol problem. I had emotional problems. I had mental problems. I had character problems. I was a general pain in the ass to deal with in every way. I think a lot of other people had lost patience with me. I had lost patience with myself. Like, I was tired of being me, but I didn't know how to do anything about it. I just didn't know. I was dumb. Like, that's the thing that living like that does. It makes you kind of dumb. You don't like the dumb decisions that got you where you are also make you too dumb to know how to get away from them. And that was just who I was. I'm not being hard on myself. I'm actually being a little kind to myself. I'm not telling you stories that I could tell that would emphasize this, because I don't like that. I don't like that whole, ooh, look how bad my life was point. My life was not bad. I had made it bad just by being a dumbass. But I just want you to understand that 20 some odd years ago, I was a miserable person. I made other people miserable. I did nothing good for anybody in this world. And I was the guy that you did not want your daughter to date. You did not want your son to be friends with. You did not want to accidentally hire. That was me. And when I look back and when people ask me, how did you change? Like, how did you become the person you are now? Because I don't think I'm like that anymore. I can still be difficult. I can still be a pain in the ass. But in general, I'm not like that anymore. I don't have problems with drinking. I don't have problems with drugs. I have not been in trouble with the law in a very long time. And all of that has come from learning how to recognize my mind, which we talked about last time. It's come from me knowing how to focus, which is what we're going to talk about today. And it comes from me being able to observe and just kind of be okay and have an acceptance of what's going on around me, which we're going to talk about in the next episode. All of this revolves around the fact that you have to know your mind. And one of the most important things in knowing your mind is being able to focus, being able to keep your mind in one place. And that is why meditation is so, so important. Now, I understand that meditation has all these connotations with it. Every time if you Google meditation, you're going to come up with a picture of somebody on a beach looking all peaceful. And yeah, maybe that's part of it, but that's not it. It wasn't it for me. When I first started, I had a brutally hard time. I had spent years and years and years running from my mind, running from my emotions. I had spent years just trying to stay away from this noise up here because of the shit that had happened to me. And when I first tried to sit down and just be with that, it made me crazy. I couldn't do it. I flipped out. I thought it was going to be easy. I thought I was going to be all just floating on clouds. It was not like that. I had to go to a place where people were meditating and go across the room and sit in a place where I knew that I'd be too embarrassed to walk out in front of people. And that was how I learned to tame my mind. Now, because I was able to do that, I went on and I became a certified mindfulness and meditation instructor. As a therapist, I was a mindfulness-informed therapist. Meditation was a part of everybody I worked with almost. And so I have experience with it. It's something that I have utilized in my life, and it has changed everything. But I want to be clear, it's not a magic bullet. It's not this instant peace. It requires work. It's a discipline. And today we're going to strip away all the like airy-fairy, not spiritual. I don't have a problem with spiritual, but like there's so many things that are placed on meditation, and we're going to kind of deconstruct some of those today just by talking about what it actually is. And at its core, meditation is really just teaching your mind to stay in one place. This seems, for some people I talk to, this seems simple, and it's like, oh yeah, that's easy. I'll do that right now. And they're wrong. It's not. It's super simple, but it's not easy. For other people, they tell me like, oh, I can't meditate. I have too many thoughts. I've never been able to clear my mind. And it's important to understand that like meditation is not about clearing your mind. It's learning to be aware when your mind is somewhere where you don't want it to be, but it's not about clearing your mind. It's about noticing when your mind has wandered and returning it to this present moment right here. And I get like we all think we're so special. We all think we're so special. I just had somebody recently say that I can't meditate. My brain's too active. I had somebody tell me one time that they had put electrodes on their brain and showed them that they had like 2 times as many thoughts as everybody else. I don't know if that technology exists or not, but I don't think that person was really all that unique. We all have 60,000 thoughts a day. Our minds are constantly like just processing, throwing things at us. And I do believe this is worse in our modern world. With social media and all the information on our phones and just video games and shows and just so much stimulation available to us, I do think our minds are more scattered than they've ever been. They're allowed to be more scattered. There's so many cool things to be scattered by. Like I still have to be careful about like what video games I start playing because I can get really sucked into them. I'm careful with what shows I watch because I don't want to get sucked into them. I have a very boundaried relationship with social media and with all that stuff. I mean, I have a guy who takes care of social media for me because I hate being on there because I get sucked into reels and watching like kids fall off of porches and like animals attack people and like it's funny and it's fun, but it's not good for me. And I know it, like after I've done it a minute, I feel like this like scatteredness and it's a sense of suffering. And so I'm so grateful that I found meditation years ago for me to recognize like, oh, this is not healthy. This is not good for me. And to have something that I can turn to get away from it. And we're not going to do a guided meditation in this. I'm going to put a link to guided meditations I've done in the past. This video here, this episode is just going to be about explaining what meditation is and how it works. And I want you to understand that it really is as simple as being in one place, focusing on your breath, getting distracted, noticing you're distracted, and that is so important. Like I don't think people really understand how huge that is to notice when you're distracted and then come back to the breath. And you do this without criticism, you do this without judgment. Because criticism and judgment are really just more forms of distraction. One thing, in the last episode we were talking about knowing your mind, one of the most shocking things you're going to learn about your mind when you start meditating is how like manipulative and subtle it can be to kind of drag you off of the present moment. It's really good at it. Like there's very broad ways where like you're meditating and you're focusing on your breath, and all of a sudden the next thing you know, it's been 5 minutes and you've been thinking about what you need to do later today, or that argument you had with your spouse last night, or that dumb shit you said when you were 14 years old. That's a kind of distraction that is it's very noticeable. Once you notice it, it's like, oh yeah, I was distracted there. But you'll find over time that the mind becomes more and more subtle in how it distracts you. I remember when I'd been meditating for a while, but I was following my breath and I got distracted and I noticed distraction and I came back to the breath and my mind immediately said, man, we caught that quick. You're getting really good at this. You should be a meditation teacher. And before long, I have designed a whole meditation course and my mind just really carried off, but it was that very subtle like, ooh, you caught that distraction. Good for you. It did a good job of suckering me in with that and of making me, of just like using my own narrative in my head to distract me. It's really shocking when we start to recognize how often we are distracted. But here's the thing. you don't need to get sideways with your mind about that. You don't need to get upset with your mind about that. The mind is doing its job. It's supposed to be like bringing reality to us and like making sure that we're paying attention to everything and making sure we're aware of everything. That's what the mind does. That's its function. It wants to do that to keep us alive, to keep us aware of the world around us. And so when you start meditating, the number one thing I want you to understand is that you're going to get distracted, and distractions are okay. Every time you get distracted, it's an opportunity to notice. And every time you notice, you are changing what your brain focuses on. And it teaches you to come back to this present moment. It teaches you to be right here, right now. And I don't fully know how to quantify why that's so good, but I can tell you that it has been an absolute game changer for me. I notice that when I'm talking to somebody, all I'm doing is talking to them. Unless I have something like really difficult going on in my life, and I don't remember the last time this happened, but unless I have something really difficult going on in my life or there's something just very distracting, I'm right there with that person, and that's all I think about. I'm not thinking about my phone. I'm not thinking about what I'm going to do later. I'm not thinking about what I did before. When I go to sleep at night, I lay down and I'm out. My brain rarely is able to pull me to the past or the future or different things. It does that in the middle of the night, but not for very long, not as long as it used to. It has made it where I was able to walk away from so many very addictive and difficult things because I realized that, the only reason I'm suffering with this is because my mind is making comparisons. It's like right here, right now, I'm okay. Everything is fine. My mind is reaching out and bringing these things in that are making me suffer. And you start to recognize all these things as you meditate because, it's one of the craziest truths in the world is that right here, right now, things are pretty okay. Like you're not on fire. You're fed. You're well enough fed that you're taking time to watch YouTube. Like if you were starving, you wouldn't be watching my dumbass. There's more important things to be doing if you're starving or on fire or you can't breathe. So many of the things that we struggle with, we're going to talk about this in a future episode, but so many of the things we struggle with, we're not struggling with the thing itself. We're struggling with our relationship to it. We're struggling with what we think about it. We're struggling with how we wish things were. That's how I quit smoking cigarettes. I realized I feel fine right now. My mind is reaching out and comparing what it would feel like to go get cigarettes and smoke them. That's how I quit cigarettes after like 20 some odd years or something. I started smoking young. And that one realization is what allowed me to step away from them. And it's been over. I think I've not smoked longer than I smoked at this point because I'm getting old. But that's a good thing. I'm glad to have been that have that much space from it. And so it really is as simple as sitting down. There's a lot more to it if you want to, and you can dive into that. I have a whole course on meditation. Maybe I'll offer it on here sometime. But it really is as simple as finding a place, sitting down, being comfortable. You don't want to be so comfortable, you're leaning back and you're ready to fall asleep, but just, I encourage people to have a dignified posture. Just something comfortable where you're stable and you're steady and your feet are flat on the floor. And I close my eyes. I know some people say you shouldn't close your eyes. Some traditions, actually the tradition I studied the longest says don't close your eyes. I just can't do it. It makes me crazy. Like the stimulation that my eyes start itching and all that. So I close my eyes and then focus on the breath. From the moment a breath hits your nose, breathe it in, just breathe normally at first. You can breathe into your belly if you want, that's good for you. And follow that breath until it goes out. And see if you can just bring so much focus to the breath that nothing else exists. And then do it with the next breath. And then do it with the next breath. And over time, as you do this, you start to come into a different relationship with the present. You start to come into a different relationship with yourself. You start to come into a different relationship with other people. You start to come into a different relationship with just about everything in your life. And I can tell you from personal experience that when you're not at odds with your mind, when you're not at odds with your emotions, the whole world is just so much easier. Life is so much easier. You're easier to deal with. Life is easier to deal with. It's easier to deal with yourself when you're not going 1,000 directions at once. So I want to be clear. That's a super basic explanation. The class I teach is like 3 hours long. Like it's, it has practices and it has like, actual like where you do it. But I really do think that's a place you can start. Focus on your breath. Breathe in, breathe out. You're going to do that anyway. We do that all day, every day. All you're doing is taking and putting your attention on it. Try to make one breath your entire universe and see what that feels like. And then do it again. And then do it again. And as you link this together, it becomes easier and easier. It becomes where it's something you don't miss. My morning starts. I wake up at 4. I walk through. I punch the little coffee pot button. I go in. I use the bathroom. And I go straight down to meditate. Like it's immediate. And I'm resistant sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, I don't want to do this morning. But the second my body touches the blanket that I meditate on and I sit down on the bench, my mind is just right there. And when I start my day that way, just being present with what is, focusing on my breath, I don't know how to explain it, but everything changes. The whole day is easier. It's taught me to find little moments of peace in the midst of chaos. It's taught me to find just something outside of my mind. It's taught me to be my own refuge, where I don't often need to seek something outside myself in order to process or deal with life. And that alone has been amazing for me. So that's it's not a challenge, but I just want to encourage you. Try it. Set a timer for 5 minutes. And for 5 minutes, just try to follow your breath. You're going to get distracted. When you get distracted, just return to your breath. No criticism, no judgment, no anything. And don't even think about it. There's no distance to cover. The mind doesn't have to cover distance. When you notice you're distracted, you don't have to walk back to get back to the breath. You can just go. You can just go. And when you realize how quickly you can shift your mind, it allows you to shift your mind in a lot of ways. So give that a try this week. If you do, let me know what you thought about it in the comments. I'm always curious with meditation because some people love it, some people hate it. It's a very interesting experience. If there's more I can add to this, if you would like to see more depth on this, let me know and I can add more episodes talking about meditation. Like I said, I've taught classes. I had a meditation group for 7 or 8 years that met weekly. So it's something valuable. It's something that I always feel privileged to get to offer to other people. If you'd like a deeper dive into this, just let me know in the comments and we'll make that happen. So next week, we're going to talk about a type of meditation that got very popular called mindfulness. It's not a magic bullet either, but it's also one of those things that when you bring it into your life in an intentional, disciplined way, it can absolutely change everything.